Hi, and good morning, everyone, and welcome. I am your session moderator, Annika Manny. I'm an OER consultant for the Midwestern Higher Education Compact. I have just a few housekeeping items before we get started today. First, I'll ask that you please keep your microphones on mute unless you're asking a question. You can ask questions at any time using the chat function. We will be saving questions to the end of the session, and I will help moderate those. We are recording this session, and closed captioning is available throughout the session by clicking on the closed captioning button in your menu bar. So today's presentation is Deeply Digital, Standards Aligned OER Curricula for K-5. And I'm now going to turn it over to our presenters to introduce themselves.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Elliot Soloway, and I'm going to start out a little bit, but with a little bit of an overview. But we have Liat, that's up there, Monique, and Dawn, and one more person's coming in too. Denise is coming in a minute or so. But what we're going to talk about is deeply digital, and we'll explain what we mean by deeply part. Standards aligned, what? Your standards, absolutely. OER, you got that for K-5. Next slide, please. Today's story is going to be the following. I'm going to give you a bit of an overview, and then then Liat's going to talk about what do we mean by K-5 deeply digital. Then next talk will be a multi-tiered system of supports, which is a Michigan thing, and Denise is going to talk there. Dawn is going to talk about collaboration. Then accountability, very important. Like, we have the remote. Monique is going to do that one, and then we're going to have Q&A at the end. Okay? That's what we're going to do. First things first. We started the Center for Digital Curricula in the College of Engineering in July 2019. The dean felt that we needed to support Michigan, right? And so we've created deeply digital curricula that has technology in it. It's not saying, here, teachers, take your technology, here's your curriculum. Now integrate technology into it. No. We're going to give you curricula that has technology already integrated. And what we mean by deeply is that we're trying to take advantage of all the affordances of the computers. I mean, the idea that kids can have non-textual media. They can express themselves in animation, in voice, in video, not just in text, right? So we're trying to go beyond pencil and paper. We're trying to go beyond digitized curricula, which is basically paper and pencil curricula put on a computer. No, we got to go beyond that. Last year, during the COVID, we had about 5,000 children from rural schools, Tri-County to Detroit, urban schools, using the materials and Title I schools. And in fact, what I like to say is that alpha generation, those children in that K-5, they're, one more slide. Yes, I mean, we grew up with the TV as our babysitter. They grew up with the iPads as their babysitters, right? And so it's a completely different world how they see the world. They see it through digital. And so we have to give them deeply digital curricula because that's what they're expecting. That's what they want. That's what they feel comfortable with. So with that, lesson from COVID. Yeah, show all these. What we learned was you can't make copies of the papers and send them out to the kids. Paper is out, digital is in. And we've heard, I can't tell you how many schools want to say, well, we're going to go back to what it was before COVID. And we're going to go back to our paper. That's what we want to do. Well, what we have found with our roadmap digital curriculum, because we call them roadmaps, are the lessons, is that it's seamless. If the children are home, one more picture, please. If the children are home or at school, they use the same curricula. And you're going to hear that. Monique's going to talk about accountability. How does the teacher know what the kids are doing? We can show you how we do it. Dawn did it too. She had some children there, some children at home. Now the question is, why would you trust us? Why do you even believe me, right? Well, we have some quotes from various academic people in schools. Never seen such high NWEA science scores. Next one, I've not seen such high literacy scores. And the next one, math, Dawn will tell you a little bit about her math scores. So it works. And we've heard a lot this past year about the kids having trouble with scores, with scores and tests. That's not what we saw. We saw this working. And so we have it available. And now, turn it over to Liat. Bingo.
One second.
There you go.
Hi, everybody. So what is it that we offer, really? We talk about deeply digital lessons and curricula. What is it that we're actually offering? So we offer the platform as is for you to use with your materials, but we also offer you already ready-made full year lessons in all the 4 core subject areas. We have ELA, reading and writing. We have social studies. We have science. We have math. The full year, all the lessons that you need for K5. So whichever grade level you're teaching, we got it. What is it exactly? ELA is based on the MESA units. So it's the MESA, it's a workshop model, both for reading and the writing. Science, we have 2 options for you. We have ML, PBL, and then we also have phenomenal science. Social studies, we have MESA, MC3 combined with the Go Open textbook. And then for math, we have Engage New York. And there we go. And if you want to check out on our website, we have a spreadsheet with direct links to each map for each grade level, for each subject area. You can just click on it, and it also tell you, it also sends you to the website so you can see the original, the pen and the pencil and paper, so you can kind of see how we deeply digitalized it. And we also have the full year and the standards that it covers. Now the standards are also available on the maps when you're looking for our material, so you can see for each lesson what standards it covers. But if you want a full year overview in advance, you can also have that here, so you can see what standards are covered, and they're all covered. And this is an example because a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? So this is a full year in a glance. This is the full year 2nd grade social studies map. And these are all the topics. And inside that, you have all the lessons that you're going to teach. And this is the full year, everything that you need in one place. And the next slide is pretty much the same. It's just 3rd grade. It's the full year social studies, including the guide for you, the teacher, so you know what you're doing and what you're looking at. And this is the full year. And then what's inside that? Inside that, we have the concepts, the modules, the topics. So if you go to the next slide, you can see a sample lesson. This is 3rd grade reading lesson. So it's basically, it's layered. It's like folders, right? You have the full year, then you have each concept or topic, and now you have lessons. And this is something that you would actually send to your students. This is a full lesson with all of the parts and components for reading. And this is the teacher's view. And you can obviously change it and modify it and tweak it as we teachers love to do. We have the standards here, the success criteria, that's the I-CAN statement. You have the lesson plan and all the materials that you need. Also, a lot of our lessons include teacher narratives, so you know what you're going to be doing and what we recommend saying or doing in each part of it. And then we have the student view on the next slide, and you can see what the student is seeing. They're not seeing all of those scaffolds that we left for the teachers. They're only seeing the things that they need to do. So for example, here for the reading, they have the mini lesson, which we again recommend that you do, but we also have it available for you. Then they have their reading section. It's Get Epic. We provide you with an account so you can send them directly to books that you want them to read with a timer, the reading log. Then they have a notebook here that follows through the entire unit. So it's like a regular notebook, right? They don't lose everything. They can come back to it. And then they have the share portion, and they also have a collaborative area that we're going to talk a lot about that later, how they can work together as a group. So that's their lesson. And then I have a math lesson as an example, again, with all the components. And if you know Engage New York, you know that they have a lot of components in their lessons. So you have everything. You have the fluency, you have the application, you have the lesson plan, the problem set, the exit ticket. You have everything here. And on the next slide, I want to emphasize again, because we're going to talk a lot about all the scaffolding for the students and how they have microphones and reading aids and a lot of visuals to help them navigate. But I also want to emphasize how many scaffolds we left for the teachers. everything that I circled is basically for you, the teacher, to be successful when you're using this map. So you have the lesson plans, you have additional resources, you have a video telling you how to teach the lesson, you have answer keys, and you can also show them to students or to parents. It's up to you, it's at your discretion. But if you want to, you can share those with students as well. You can have those too. And basically everything that you need to do to teach this lesson, even if you have never taught it before. And those are some pictures because Professor Elliott talked about how it was implemented in classes. So roadmaps were actually used even before COVID. And this is an example of a teacher using one of our science maps before COVID. This case is more student-centered. They're all working together and the map is on the board. The next picture is going to be a little bit more group-centered, I think, or no, individual. So here students are working on different maps at their own rate, and we're going to talk about the differentiations that the maps allow. So you have, yeah, and this is actually Miss Mahalik's class, and she's going to talk about her students and how they're collaborating. And I wanted to put here a picture of us using it in Zoom, but then I realized that you probably have already seen so many black squares that you've had it. So you don't believe us that it was also used via Zoom. Dawn, you wanna?
Sure. This is my class before COVID. And this is the first year that I started using the Engage New York Roadmaps curriculum. And what I did is I assigned partners. So every math lesson, every day, they would have a different partner. And what I found out by doing this, so that you can see they're all working with partners, but what you don't see is me in the picture. And I think Liat took this picture, but they stopped coming to me to ask me questions, and they started looking to each other because I used the collaboration. And so some teachers ask, well, how do you know who did what? And there's some color coding that I use. So students would type or draw with their own particular color. And then their name was typed in whatever color that they chose. So there is accountability, even though they're working together. But what I found is I didn't ever really believe those, those perfect classrooms where the teacher is the facilitator and the kids are all self-directed. But that is actually what happened in my classroom. So I know it's real. It was amazing. I would introduce a lesson. We'd do a little mini lesson like you saw on one of the previous slides where the whole screen was filled up. The kids would find out who their partner was, and there was no rolling of eyes. There was no complaining that I was with a girl or I was with a boy. Because this was our routine, they completely were able to work with anybody in the room. And they actually looked forward to finding out, who was our partner. And they just became the routine, and they became so adept at collaborating with each other. They learned how to negotiate. They learned how to take turns, these are third graders. And they learned to hold each other accountable. They learned you don't erase something that you didn't do. You have to ask about it. And they became problem solvers. And I could go around the room and just peek over their shoulder and ask some sort of question, and I didn't need to redirect them. There were no behavior problems. Everybody was on task. It was completely amazing. And on top of that, besides my day-to-day being wonderful, and I actually got to teach the way you always dreamed of teaching, their math scores went up. So this is when COVID closed schools in March, and my students, we took our district test in January, and my students had already made a year's growth from September to January. Before I would have loved to seen how much they would have grown had we had a full school year. But in comparison with other classes, they made a year. So when principals or administrators are asking, well, yeah, this is all good and fine, but what does it do for achievement? It boosts it, because it was just amazing what it did to their math scores. What do we have on the next slide? Because I think
I
we might
think
have
it's
this in
your
twice.
slides. I think
Oh, is it?
now it's time for you to share.
Okay. All right. Okay. So what I have here is just some slides. And you notice we use the Google Suite. And so any Google slides that you have, you can just insert it into a roadmap so that you can just integrate it with what you already have. And another thing that because I loved that collaboration, and COVID sort of put the nix on that. What we do have is we have a telephone feature. Let me see if I can make this a little bit bigger for you. And so when I would have students that were quarantined at home, they were able to come to a Zoom meeting in the morning, and I would say, okay, you need to sign on to your roadmap and you can talk to your partner. So they would be able to be included in instruction. They weren't isolated like they would have been had I not been using roadmaps. And they could actually talk to their partner. They were still held accountable for their work, because my colleagues were having trouble with those kids who were quarantined. While you still had students in the classroom, you couldn't hold them accountable because they either didn't have their book, or they didn't understand, or they didn't know what to do. But this way, it wasn't just me holding them accountable, it was their partner. And I also liked the aspect that they were still connected to people and not feeling isolated at home. And so here's a picture of some of my little guys. They have their headphones on and they're working on their screen, working on their own screen. And it even worked in the classroom too. So we could still do the social distancing, and they could even use the phone feature within the classroom. But the main thing that I liked is that I was able to include those kids that were at home. And again, I already talked about this picture, so I'm going to move on. Boy, I miss those kids. And then just a couple things. I could let somebody else take over, but I had a couple extra things, but maybe Monique should.
Oh, go ahead. You got plenty.
Okay. Well, I just had a couple of things that I could show you some of our apps. So this is called Writer, and there's some options you can do. So you can type in a question and the kids reply in this box, or they could respond with a video. If some kids, so we have that differentiation, those kids that might have trouble putting words down, they can create a short video. You can also just quickly go to YouTube and copy that URL, and you just pop it in by doing the photo or video, like right here. You paste that URL. Oops, sorry. And it puts in the video, and it takes off all those extras that you don't need, the little advertisements and suggestions on the side. Or they can take a picture of themselves, or I liked that I could have them hold up their work. So something like cursive. I could have them hold up their cursive paper and take a picture. So again, it helps with that accountability.
Everything can be read to them using the speakerphone feature, which we have in many of our apps. We have it on Writer, we have it on PDF-Pal, which is all the worksheets that you have, PDFs. We have it on our animation tool. So we have a speaker, and they can listen to your instructions if they're struggling to read. And they can, so that's another scaffolding that we have other than the visuals to help them see where they are and what they've done. And Dawn already wrote it in the chat, but I think it's important to repeat it. Everything that they do is automatically saved. So you don't have that issue of, I forgot to bring it, I forgot to save it. It's automatically saved.
And so I like that on the PDF. So any PDF that you can have, you can easily insert in here. So I just put one of my old newsletters in here. And you can record your voice. Or the students can record their voice. Again, if they are somebody who has trouble putting their words down on paper, they can use it to annotate by highlighting. And again, they can choose their own color. So if I had Johnny was highlighting in brown, then Johnny's name would be at the top in brown. And Sally is using yellow, so her name would be at the top in yellow. They can draw on it or circle, make arrows. And it can go as many pages as you need. So down here, if I had another page, then this would be darker. So you could go to the second page. And then this is Collaborify Map, and I have used it to have my students create timelines, or I insert images and then they can sort them. You could even use it for lower grades where they are making that connection between their uppercase and lowercase letters. And there's a lot more uses to it than that, but those are just some of the things that I have used it for. Oops, I just closed a window, sorry. I'm gonna have to stop share to get to that. Oh, I think that was all. Oh, I didn't share Flipbook. Sorry about that. Let me go back to sharing. I'm a little out of practice on using Zoom. I've not been in school over the summer. Okay, so Flipbook, I decided it's better to just show you than explain it. So that kids my students, they like to do this during any free time. Can we do Flipbook? Can we do Flipbook? And they can get far more advanced than what I'm showing you here. But they can make drawings like making a basketball go through a hoop, or showing, one of ours is a frog eating a ladybug. So they make the frog go across the screen and get a ladybug with the tongue of the frog. I mean, they can get super creative. You can also insert images, which are all safe images because we have our settings that way, so that when you go to Google search images, it should be safe. But just, I mean, you can see why kids would love to do this. And I've used it for math, for science, for social studies, and of course, the kids just like to kind of play around with it too.
And you could add your voice.
Yes.
Very awesome. So now I'm going to share and talk to you a little bit about accountability. So I was online with my students all throughout the whole year. Started with 3rd and 4th grade, ended up with 2nd and 3rd grade, but either way, it worked miraculously. I mean, we had no issues. It really did work out well. The kids knew I could see what they were doing. And so that really set the stage for them being accountable. So first, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and show you exactly how you would go about taking a look at student work. So here along this toolbar in the teacher platform, you click on this monitor and assess here, you click what class you want to look at. And I'm looking at some PD teachers that just went through and did some models today. I figure since I was in there, I might as well just pull up theirs. And I click on the name of the student, or I could actually just click on, I'm having to sign in, sorry about that. But you can see, I can look at their models. So here is a model done by one of our PD people. And while they're working on them, I can see everything that they're doing. So let's see, I can see that Dijon is doing their model. Oh, but Nicole has not started. And Connie hasn't started. And neither has Ballard. So then this is where I would have those conversations with students, right? I can see that Aaron has some. I can make comments on this, giving them feedback or audio feedback. So this is such a powerful tool, and it's just like flipping through the notebooks. I will tell you, this is much easier than taking that big stack of notebooks in the crate home. I know many of you have probably done that before. And this is the same thing, except you're clicking a next student button, right? Clicking the next student button and getting those pictures. One of the coolest things that we have available now too is exporting these. So here is an example from one of my classrooms, actually, my second and third grade classroom. This is a problem and engineering solution they had to come up with. And so you can see they wrote on here and then they drew their little pieces, but I can download all of it, right? So I could download all of it at once. So if I click download here, it's going to make a full copy of my kids and their materials. So I can actually download it and have it as printouts if I want it. But I mean, obviously it's much easier just to do it online in here and click next student, next student. But that export feature makes it very nice for us to be able to see. I can see many of the kids didn't do this assignment. Actually, they worked in teams. So depending on if they were in what team, right? But this accountability piece is always here. I can be checking in with them saying, you haven't touched that yet, or you haven't started yet. How can I help you get started? I could type a message on the page. I can see if they're in the page by using this little eyeball here, right? And even, let's say I wanted to speak to them on the telephone. I can just click no activity selected. I'm in this roadmap and I can see Jaden's not in here, or if Jaden was in here and he's not having a very good time with this, I can tell him, pick up the telephone, and him and I can talk and voice over IP. Whether he's at home, whether he's across the room, whether he's in Mrs. Tuttle's class down the hall, I can still be communicating with students when they need that feedback, or give them that accountability that they need. Are there any questions? I know we really have given you a lot of information. But I think one of the biggest things that we want you to walk away with today is that not only is roadmaps a tool, right? But that we have this curriculum set up for K-5. We worked very hard on it. We put it in there exactly how it was written from MESA. We have the MESA reading and writing units. We have Engage New York K-5, the MLPBL, Phenomenal Science, MESA, MC3, and the Michigan Go Open books. So like I said, we've put a lot of that together. We're working on right now SEL units and putting them in a place, and most of that, almost all of them, or a lot of them, can be found on Michigan Go Open. Thanks to the state of Michigan, they've helped fund us getting some of them on our OER, on the Michigan Go Open site. So we're hoping to get more on there, but right now we have math, and we would really like to get the ELA and reading and writing workshops up soon.
And the SEL ones, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. What kinds of questions do you guys have?
Yeah. Oh, what we we won't talk about the MTSS. I think we'll yeah. But we haven't.
Gina, you dropped that in the chat. Gina Lovelace is here. She actually is in charge of Michigan Go Open and put the chat
Yay,
in.
Gina.
Oh, how
Yeah.
nice.
Yay, Gina.
Hello.
So,
Here
when
on the sidebar, I'll show you how you can get the curriculum. If you can't find it on Michigan Go Open, you could probably still find it here in our repository. Well, I know you can find it in our repository, not that you can't, but you can click on that search repository here. And right here, you can see feelings, first week of school. We've had people really working on these, thinking about what kinds of things do we need our kids coming back the first week of school? What kinds of things do we want to work on? So here we will click on all grades. You can see we've got all the grades here. Let's say third grade. Let's say we need a reading. And you can see here's our MESA Informational Unit 5, 4, 4, 3. You can see that we have them all in the repository. The best way to do it is to drill down from here, choosing your grade, choosing your subject area.
The way that you know that the items in the repository have been vetted and created by the U of M are they will start with UMCDC, U of M Center for Digital Curricula. Now, anybody can submit to the repository. So for example, if somebody in your district created a great lesson and they said, hey, I put this in the repository, you can search for them by their name or by whatever they put in the title. So you can easily share something with colleagues. And when you copy the teacher link or you save it to your roadmap collection, then that is your brand new copy and it won't change what has been created in the repository. So every time you select something, you're making a brand new copy just for yourself and you can change it any way you like. So if there's something that you want to add, like a website that you have that you know is tried and true or a video, you can add it. Or if there's something that you're not sure that your students were ready for, you can just delete it from the roadmap. So it's very customizable.
And I love the fact too that I know a lot of people are really against that whole kids being on computers right now coming back to school. This isn't something where you put your kids in front of it, right? It's not taking the teacher out of the equation. The teacher still needs to be part of this facilitation of these units. I mean, you could put a kid in front of it, but that's not how they were built. They were built with teachers and students in mind, because we don't feel like the teacher should be taken out of that equation. Of course, we're teachers, right? You can see the Common Core standards are listed within the units. The newer ones that we're revising and getting done, we have all the Common Core standards or Michigan standards within them. Many of our maps will be listed as 21, 22 because we have we're going through them more of a fine-tooth comb, of course, and because we were putting them together as people were working or as we were needing them throughout the school year, because our team consists of all the grade levels and we were building them as we were teaching. And
we're going back through them. And that's what Monique and her team are going back through. Liat and Dawn and Denise and Pooja, they're going back through them and revising them, adding, because we have a whole bunch of new features in the roadmap itself. So make it more colorful, more visual. The visual component, we can't stress enough, right? In fact, going back to something Monique said about teacher in the loop, we don't like the word online learning, because to us, online learning is kid sits in front of a computer, teacher's not there. No, this is not online learning. This synchronous learning, working with the teachers, working with the kids, collaboration, very important. Oh, wow. Here's some wonderful,
Yeah.
sorry.
Here's a brand new one I did last night. So this is like a 4th grade science unit, an introduction to all the different pieces of science. And it's supposed to be just a small 2-week unit to kind of touch on that. What's a driving question? Teaching kids how to develop questions, right? Drawing models, testable questions, investigation. So this is what Elliot's talking about those visual pieces. So we have this numbering system of sequence, but also when you click on the lesson, it will go through the pieces for that lesson. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, it's very simple for kids to follow through, even kindergartners. Do you guys have any other samples that you wanted me to show?
We have too many samples and too little time.
Any more questions? Questions, though? Anybody, folks? Monique, Monica, do you want to help us with the questions?
Not seeing any questions in the chat.
No.
Okay.
Just now, but please do put them in the chat or go ahead and we're a small group today. So please feel free to go ahead and unmute and ask your questions. That's totally fine.
Yeah, please.
Hey, Monique, would
Yeah.
you show how you assign, like one of my favorite things in distributing to kids is when I put them in collaborative groups, I don't forget anybody anymore because we have this nifty little tool that Josh put in there. You can randomize your groups and then you can kind of fiddle with them a little for kids that, you know, that might be a personality conflict or maybe somebody's absent that day. So you can switch your groups, but it keeps track of all your kids. So you can do it by hand, or you can randomize and it just populates all your kids. And then you can easily, like when Monique clicks on Connie, Cheryl, and Lee, maybe Connie doesn't get along. So we take Connie out and it saves her name. And then I can put Connie in a different group. And if your remaining students is empty, you know you got everybody. So I absolutely love that. And
That
it
is
is
really nice.
Yeah, it's just a URL. So you put the URL in Google Classroom or Seesaw or Schoolology. I can never say that word. So it's just giving your kids a link.
You can see it passing out all those roadmaps, see all those names, sending it out.
And there's 2 ways. You can either do it that way, or you can just make a link while you're in a roadmap. Create a student link and then send out a link. And then you will get a copy of all those students' maps. So I like to do it distribute, but I think Monique, a lot of times you like to do the student link one.
Yeah. So right here, the 3 dots in the corner, do you see the student link here? You can click student link. And it makes a copy of a link. And that link right there, you can send out to your students, putting it in anything that, Schoology, Canvas. It was really interesting. Our school purchased many pieces of online classes, right? Taking the teacher out of the equation. And with Accelerate, Edmentum, different things like that. And it wasn't but a couple weeks. And by time, in a couple weeks, we were all back. We were all on roadmaps. Even teachers that have never used roadmaps before, that's exactly what they decided to use in our school. And we implemented those and it just went. And it's such a shame that many school districts, and it's not just mine, but many school districts did the same, purchased lots of online courses and they didn't pan out the way that they thought they were going to, and ended up moving to a roadmap where you can customize and make it your own and have your class and the teachers still be a big part of the giving the facilitation of the lesson, right?
Elliot, there was a question about how does a teacher learn how to use this curriculum, or what professional development do we have? And what kind of cost?
Oh, do we have professional development? We have lots of professional development. Monique and Liat have created these roadmaps to teach people, teach teachers how to use that. We have a synchronous session to get people going. So we can get you going on your whole school. We've done schools, with PD Day, we can do that, or we can do it more individually. There is a cost. The curricula is free, but we need to recover the cost for the use of the platform. So if that's interesting, if you're interested in using the materials, let's talk. I put my email in the chat. Come back to me. Let's talk on the phone. We can figure this out. You want to use this? We'll make it work. I promise you.
Yep.
we have,
Thursday night we have PD, or we talk about this platform and we go through things. If you have specific questions, there's enough of us in the group that we can make breakout rooms and work with you to help you create things, make what do I want to say? Make changes, differentiate some of the roadmaps that we've already created. But that is a link here at the cdc.engine.umich.edu. And that gives you, first of all the information. Here's need help, how-to videos. There's tutorials for students beginning to use it, tutorials for teachers. And as you go through, it explains everything, but we also walk through this process on Thursday nights.
It's 8:30 p.m.
Yep.
Eastern time. And I just put the URL for the Zoom session in there. So you can come tomorrow night, today's Wednesday, tomorrow night, and we'll dive into it. Bring your colleagues. And I'll put my email again, just close your site. Please ask more questions. We have a couple of minutes left.
I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. I am in the
go.
middle of doing PD on roadmaps or with Detroit teachers. We're working on the science, the MSU science, and they use the roadmaps. And actually I was just texting Elliot before this because they're really interested in using our math roadmaps because they use Eureka Math. And so now that they've been using them for science for a year, they're going, I think maybe we need to get this for math.
Yeah. Thank you, Monique. Thank you. Good luck with the folks.
Bye.
Oh, that's back. Good. Any final questions? Anything we can clarify? Wow. Again, this was a fire hose of information. Absolutely. But bottom line, curricula, and any more questions? Okay. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much for coming. Annika, thank you for hosting us. Thank you for making it work. And thank you, Liat. Thank you, Dawn. Let's see. Thank you, Gina. Yeah, Gina. Okay.
Thank you all very much for attending. Our next session is actually our lunch and network session, which begins at 1:15. We'd encourage you to come. It's a very casual, open, come chat with colleagues. There'll be different breakout groups for different roles like librarians and K-12 and others. So we welcome you to come to that at 1:15. And then our concurrent sessions continue later on today. So we hope to see you at another session soon. Thank you very much.